Hi there, my name is Mally McLaughlin and welcome to this week's Heart to Heart. As we just heard from Pastor Warren on the main message over on the MLK YouTube channel, we heard him talk about forgiveness and more precisely what it's like to be trapped inside the prison of unforgiveness. And also that we have a miraculous get out of jail free card. Today I want to share with you a situation where I was stuck in the prison of unforgiveness and what get out of jail card I used. About 27 years ago, I met a guy and we became fast friends. And just for the sake of confidentiality and respect, I won't mention his name here today. But we instantly hit it off. We loved the same kind of movies, we loved the same books, same music, and that first time we hung out, we talked long into the night. A few years later, when he moved to Australia, I decided that I was going to go and move to Australia too. And even though we lived in different cities, which were about 10 hours apart, we would still see each other quite frequently. I went up to him for Christmas, he would come down to me for birthdays. And when he had a massive breakup with his girlfriend, who he was completely in love with, he left the city and he moved in with me for 6 weeks. I love this guy so much that I actually gave him my bed and I slept on the floor. And that was such a sweet time. We then traveled up the east coast of the country together. The following year when I moved to London, he would come over every so often and visit me, and it was just the same. The time in between was like it never happened. We would just pick up a conversation where we left off. And then a few years later, I moved to Paris, France, where I now live. And he would still come over and see me. And one time he came over with this girl who he says, Mally, I think she's the one. And she was just amazing. And seeing them together was really beautiful. It was also around this time that I had my life turned upside down by Jesus and became a follower of him. This friend of mine, he wasn't that keen on religion, and I just kind of kept it to myself for a while. One of the outward manifestations, I guess you could call it, of that devotion to Jesus was I decided to tell people about it in an autobiography. And so I wrote this book and talked about my life with alcohol and drugs and how Jesus redeemed everything and saved me just from destruction. And my friend was really looking forward to reading this book, and he kept messaging me saying, I can't wait, I can't wait, I can't wait. And then the book came out and there was silence. And I would send text messages, I would send emails, and there was still no response. And I thought, okay, I think he might have taken it badly that I'm following Jesus and thinks I'm a Bible thumper or something. But I held out hope, maybe he's just busy, maybe there are other things going on in his life. And so I think it was about a year later, I had heard from some mutual friends of ours that he was actually going to get married. And I thought, any day now, the invitation is going to come and I'm going to be at that wedding and it's going to be great. Guess what? The invitation never came. And then one day, myself and my wife Val were on a trip to Saint-Malo for a weekend over in Brittany. And we were having a great time. And towards the end of the trip, we were walking along the beach and I got a text from my best friend in London. And he said, Mally, he's getting married today. And it was like he told me that he had died or someone had died. I was so deeply grieved by this news, and I remember just collapsing near the pavement beside the beach and just crying and just feeling really really hard to describe, but I was deeply hurt. And so we went back to the hotel, and I remember just lying catatonically on the bed for about an hour trying to come to terms with this news. The next day we got into our car and we drove back, and I had 4 or 5 hours to ruminate over this. And I remember as we were driving that grief slowly started to turn into anger. And within the following couple of days, I really wanted just harm to befall this guy. It was terrible. I went from loving him to really wanting to see him hurt in the same way that I was feeling hurt. And this started to go on for quite some time. And at that point, I knew that the prison door had already closed. And I didn't know a way out of it. And I cried and I cried and I cried out to God. And then one day he says to me, Mally, pray for him. And I thought, what? Pray for him? Are you kidding me? He's the one who's hurt me. He's the one who's taken so many things from me. I have given him so much. If anything, he should be praying for me or getting in touch with me. And he just said, pray for him. And they were just 1 or 2 word prayers where I would be like, God, and then I would mention his name and I would be like, God. And praying for him released me. It released me from that prison. And I was praying for success for his business, for his family, for his new marriage, that his kids and their kids would be blessed. And it just completely transformed how I saw him. And I saw him with love again instead of hurt. And that was my get out of jail free card. One of the things, or one of the ways I would also describe that, Warren really put it well in saying that we're in prison. But one of the things that I realized during that season was that when we have unforgiveness in our heart, it is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It corrodes us from the inside, it rots us. We stay awake late at night having these imaginary conversations with our offender, and it just leads to just these bad tapes playing in our head, and that helps no one. And I want to talk to you directly today. You may have unforgiveness towards someone in your heart. First step is prayer. It might not be easy, but it will be your get out of jail free card. If you've forgiven someone and been repentant and you feel that they haven't forgiven you, same thing. Pray for that person. Get on your knees before the Father. You might be someone who watches MLK services from a distance. Maybe you've been touched by this too. Maybe today is the day you send that text. Maybe today is the day you send that email. Maybe today is the day that you send that call. But do not waste another day in that prison of unforgiveness, because through prayer, Jesus is handing you the keys to unlock that door and walk out of it forever. May you be richly blessed today in Jesus' name.